Hello, I'm Dan from EDEMO Electric Bikes, all-out bike nerd and electric bike enthusiast. One of the questions I've been asked is, do I have to pedal an electric bike? The answer is, well, actually, do you know, when I think about this, no, as long as you're going downhill. But generally the answer is yes, you do, because one of the key requirements for a UK legal electric bike is that it must have pedals to propel it. If it doesn't have pedals, then it doesn't get classed as a UK legal electric bike. Instead, it's going to be a moped. So a lot of the freedoms and the fun of riding a bike are taken away because you have to go and get tax and insurance and all that sort of thing. So there's a couple of ways that the power from the pedals is translated in an electric bike. So if you have a bike with a hub motor, so a motor either in the front or the rear wheel, you'll find you've got a ring of magnets on the crank. This means as you push your pedal, it senses that the pedal crank is actually turning, and based on this, it switches the motor on for you. Downsides of this type of motor is that hill starts can be very difficult because it's waiting for a turn of that crank or a quarter turn, part turn of that crank. So hill starts become difficult because you have to put the initial piece of power in to get it to move away. And there's commonly a simple power on-off. So if the crank is turning, it powers the motor and propels you along. Because of that ring of magnets there, in my experience, it's been quite exposed and prone to damage. So if it gets hit on anything, you can damage the magnet ring that's in there, or you can fill it with muck and dirt and they just won't start to work so well. And most importantly, it gives quite an unnatural riding experience. So it feels like the motor is always wanting to take you up to that higher speed that's set in there because it's purely on and off. So there's no sort of natural riding with a gentle push on the pedal giving gentle power. It's either full on or full off, which is really quite strange. On the positive side, you can do this thing called pretend pedaling, which is really quite amusing in that because it's just sensing that the crank's turning, it's not measuring how hard you're pressing on that pedal or engaging the rear wheel, the drive to the rear wheel. So you can do this gentle pedal where you make your legs go round and round pretending, and it switches on the motor. So if you're on the flat, so no incline really, it'll switch the motor on and it will propel you along. So the game is to try and make it look like you are actually pedaling. It can be quite good fun. Downside of it is as soon as you come to a hill, it's not particularly good at all. More refined motors, like the crank motors you'd find from Bosch, have 3 sensors in them. They have a cadence sensor, a speed sensor, and a torque sensor. So the cadence sensor is measuring how fast you're pedaling, the RPM. The speed sensor measures how fast the bike is travelling, and the last one, which is absolutely brilliant, is the torque sensor, and it measures how hard you're pressing on that pedal. So it's assuming that you've engaged the rear wheel and then you're starting to put power through to it. It's going to measure how hard you push, so it will know if you're gently pushing or if you're standing up out of your saddle and then pressing on the pedal. At this point, it will decide how much assistance it's going to give on top of what you're doing. So one of the best things about this is that it's going to make it feel really natural when you're riding your bike. It's basically going to make you feel like you're superhuman, that you've got super powerful legs. So for example, in the eco mode that it has, you'll get 50% more of the power that you put in. And if you put it up into the turbo mode, then you're going to get 340% of the assistance. That's huge amounts of extra power. So it can make it really quite exciting. So one of the upsides is that if you're going to start on a hill, the motor knows how hard you're pushing on that pedal, so it can make it really easy to pull away. And of course, the best thing about having a crank motor is the bike feels natural. So it doesn't feel strange, it doesn't feel sort of like it wants to get away with itself. You feel completely in control of that bike. And if you ease off your pedals at all, then it will just ease off the power completely. And if you don't push on the pedal, then the power stops. So you never get this overrun as you come up to a junction or anything where the motor's still going for a split second longer. So it can inspire confidence and give you a far nicer ride. If you'd like to know more about electric bikes, head over to our website at edemo.bike and download our 40-page e-bike buyer's guide. Thanks for watching.